We can do watch this jerks now.
All right. I watched a movie.
I watched the same movie.
Did you watch it? Did you?
I watched 2/3 of the same movie.
All right. So most of us watched Elvis on HBO Max. Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
That's how you say his name, huh?
Yeah. Baz Luhrmann. Yeah.
Never heard anyone say it before out loud.
Oh, there you go. Boz. Boz. I'll try to say with a little bit of a Australian accent.
I like his style.
What are you trying to talk like Tom Hanks now?
There are people who go. I'm like, what? What are you? Why, Tom Hanks? Why?
Why? Yeah, but why Tom Hanks is the right question to ask about this movie.
I know it's a shame because I think otherwise it's a very good movie, but I think Tom Hanks, either as a choice or his choices, it's one or the other. It could be both. Just don't really stick the landing.
You can't stop seeing Tom Hanks in every scene that he's in, right? And going, why are you talking like that, Tom Hanks?
It's not even that. It's why is Tom Hanks look like a potato? And why is he melting? And why is he melting before my eyes?
Because Colonel Tom Parker looked like a potato.
I understand that, but he still looks like Tom Hanks, but as a potato, like a melting potato.
It's really
with a
weird.
hat, and it's just like it's too much. I had to say that's funny that you guys felt the same way. But that was really my
everyone
only.
Felt that way.
It's really weird.
I haven't read any
It's
criticism.
weird to see that famous of an actor in that role, but you know that he doesn't look like that or sound like that.
You know, he's getting older. He's not like, the big.
And it's just not even just that. It's that he does it and he doesn't pull it off. It'd be one thing if he did that and he was able to pull it off, and you were like, I didn't think I was gonna like this, but
fine.
But instead he's Dan Aykroyd as the judge and Nothing But Trouble.
No,
Yes.
don't. No.
Yes.
No.
That
is the vibe. That is the vibe.
That is totally the vibe.
Oh, that cuts deep though. That's.
I know it does. I knew.
You should think about that before you say that.
Huge Tom Hanks fan. I'm a huge Dan Aykroyd fan. Hanks. He's great. Yep. Both of them did the same performance here.
I remember seeing that movie, Nothing But Trouble in the theater, and that very scene where all those scenes with Dan Aykroyd, and really turning to my friend, saying should we go? Should we just leave? But we didn't, and I don't remember really that happening and really seeing any other movie in the theater. Maybe Caddyshack too. But
I did see Nothing But Trouble in the theater also. So
anyway, it's not that bad. I still like the movie. Nothing But Trouble. I did not like that movie
too. I like the movie too. It's very Baz Luhrmann. So
I wish it was more though.
Maybe a little. I get what you're saying.
It plays it awfully straight for a while, right?
They ran out of money.
Yeah, that's what it
for
feels
those visual
like. It's
effects.
Yeah, we had the visual effects Tom Hanks over here. So there's not any of this surreal art style that you see in certain places.
There's not enough of it.
There's not enough of it.
I think especially when you I think it may get worse in the latter third. Once Elvis gets to Vegas,
that's
right
alert. Where I'm at. I'm right at.
They ran out of money by the time that happened.
Vegas.
It does feel a little static. I think they spent too much time on late Elvis, more than they should have. I think they did a decent job at young Elvis. I think that it was interesting. I like the movie a lot anyway. I think that there's some 60s Elvis because they just gloss over 1962 to 1968. The comeback special part is the best part of the movie as far as I'm concerned. Everything about it, Elvis being like, I'm going to do what I want to do for once in my life. And he does it. And it's a huge success and it's classic. And if you've actually never watched the actual 1968 Elvis comeback special, I've seen it more times.
Most of the 99% of the audience. And
I know.
Hosts,
well, I don't think most. I've seen it I don't know, too many times.
Everything.
Yeah. I love it. I love the Elvis 68 comeback special. So it was nice to see them kind of get into the weeds on it. I didn't know all that much about it, the behind the scenes stuff. I didn't know all of that. And then I looked it up after, and that most of how they said it happened actually did happen that way. So that was kind of cool to see. But
yeah,
there were certain parts at the beginning where it felt a little Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. or it was a little too much like the beginning scene of a parody of those kind of movies. But once they got past that, I think the movie really is really good. And then once you get to like the last 20 minutes, it starts to drag a little bit.
It was like weird how the whole movie is really supposed to be a you eating your hand, Wombat?
Yes,
Okay?
no, I have a little thing. I was just getting
Um,
my nail.
the movie is just like a morphine flashback for Colonel Parker, right? Like that's how it starts off. You see him like in the hospital, and he's like, "All right, here comes the morphine," and then here comes a lot of money. We spent a lot of money on all these visual effects to simulate the morphine stuff, and then later in the movie, when it's druggy Elvis, there's nothing left for druggy Elvis. There's no effects for druggy Elvis. We know that he's on some sort of drugs because we see pill bottles everywhere, and they talk about it, but it's not visualized at all in the movie, which is weird because that's the whole director's like calling card is.
I'm wondering, maybe I'll defend the director and go, maybe that was an artistic choice because the drugs weren't to make Elvis feel like he was in a dream state, but really just to make him feel normal.
That's what I'm guessing there.
So if you put effects on it, it makes it seem like Elvis was taking the drugs because he wanted to take drugs.
Right.
But Elvis was taking drugs to feel like a regular human being.
See, they don't really talk about that. You know that, I guess, because you're like an Elvis man. But like they don't really,
I guess so.
They don't really tell you that in the movie. They just
I mean, it was pills to be awake, pills to go to sleep.
Yeah,
just pills to function.
I inferred that because they were working him like a dog. But
yeah, because he thought he had a debt to pay off. And what's funny is that they don't mention this in the movie as part of the aftermath of it. They show in the movie that he owes Colonel Tom Parker $8 million. But what they don't tell you in the movie is Colonel Tom Parker did forge those documents, and he was actually $5 million in the black, not $8 million in the red.
Right. Makes sense.
It's also really heartbreaking because Elvis was literally worked himself to death for no reason.
Right. Yep. Tragic. Poor Elvis.
Yeah. Poor Elvis. Tragedy that is the Elvis Presley story.
I started watching the new Lord of the Rings TV show that Shipwreck needs to be watching because male. Basically unwatchable because of Black Elves, as you guys have heard. Pretty much like almost turned it off as soon as I saw the Black Elf. So no, it's obviously that whole conversation is just like I can't even imagine getting upset about that.
Did you read the She-Hulk stuff too?
Like, I don't waste my time with that. I just saw like people were complaining about it.
People are pathetic. Anyway,
the nice thing about this Lord of the Rings TV show compared to, let's say, that Game of Thrones TV show, the new one, is that even though the Game of Thrones TV show, it's pretty heavy subject matter. It's like, hey, there's pure evil is here and we have to fight the pure evil. It's still infinitely lighter than the Game of Thrones TV show all around. It's got comic relief. It's got daytime and, nice scenery. So yeah, we've watched the first 2 episodes of that and that's pretty entertaining. So I would recommend, Chip, that you fire up Amazon Prime.
I like Lord of the Rings, but I don't love Lord of the Rings. Do you recommend the show for me? It
seems fine. If you like fantasy, if you like fantasy shows, do you like fantasy shows?
I have nothing against a good fantasy show.
Okay, well, it's think of it as a regular fantasy show. I don't know a lot.
When does this take place in the Lord of the Rings timeline?
It's like a prequel,
super prequel, because it's about the ring. It's the Rings of Power. So I guess they're going to be making the Rings of Power in this.
Sure. I don't
remember when they throw a ring in a volcano? This is when they made the ring.
I understand. Yes,
I think it's more of like, hey, look, somebody spent a lot of money to make a AAA fantasy movie. It doesn't really matter that it's Lord of the Rings or whatever. I mean, Lord of the Rings, obviously having that IP is what gets it made in the first place. But as far as like a viewer is concerned, I don't know a lot about Lord of the Rings other than I watch the movies. And it seems fine for me, like perfectly entertaining for me. I don't seem like I'm not understanding what's happening. So yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Good.
Anybody else watching anything?
What is the next thing?
I watched the season premiere of Rick and Morty. I don't know if anyone here watches that. I'm gonna go with a big no, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I'm wondering if the toxicity of that fan base has died down because I didn't see that much Rick and Morty
Not
stuff.
a chance.
No, is it still gross? It's a better show that doesn't deserve the crazy people that it has. It kind of bums me out.
I didn't even know there was like a problem with this show.
There's a pretty toxic Rick and Morty fan base that like to dissect things in the show, probably a little more than they should, and infer things. It's the same kind of people that complain about Black Elves and Lord of the Rings.
But how would that affect me if I just don't watch any of it? Like, I'm not going to read a single thing about Black Elves.
Well, that's
and
what
Lord
I'm
of the Rings.
saying. Like, I avoid it completely, and it's just, but it got to a point where people were like, Rick and Morty is a bad show, and I'm like, why is it a bad show? I was like, well, the people who watch it are terrible. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the show's fault.
Right.
And I actually really like the season premiere. There were a lot of cool callbacks. They're tying things together, and it still stood on its own. So I don't know. Rick and Morty, new season, 100 years.
Are you going to buy his new game?
No, because
We talked about that last week.
It's going to be on Game Pass, so I already paid for it.
Ooh.
So
Right,
that
then.
answers that. I did play Trover Saves the Universe in VR. Does that count?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what it counts for, but it counts.
It's been a little cred.